Oh, no, I'm getting two. We're back now with comedian Sebastian Maniscalco and his family pediatrician. That would be Dr. Scott Cohen. They've got a podcast together. It's called Daddy versus Doctor, where they share parenting advice and talk candidly about their own adventures in fathering. Good morning to both of you.
Thanks for having us.
So in the setup package, we saw an interview, a conversation with two parents who were struggling with a baby who will not sleep. This is torture for parents. Everyone can relate to it. Sleep training is an option, but a controversial one. So, Dr. Cohen, What do you tell families about sleep training?
So anytime after 4 months, the idea of sleep training is getting a child to sleep through the night, minimum of 10 hours without feeding, without picking them up. And usually you can do it in a healthy child anywhere 4 months or after. And you're right, it's not for everybody. Everybody has to make their own choices. But to your point, I think parents are happier when their child's sleeping through the night, relationships are better, and the child's happier. And it actually teaches something really important. You're not starving your child. All those feedings are self-soothing.
Right.
You're not psychologically damaging them. You're actually teaching them how to self-soothe, which is an important thing for them to learn down the road, and they can learn that at 4 months.
So my pediatrician told us that there are 3 steps to sleep training. Put the baby in the crib,
1,
close the door,
2,
come back in the morning.
3.
That's it.
That sounds simple.
Don't watch the baby monitor.
Don't watch the monitor. There's going to be crying, but they're learning.
You've got the noise-canceling headphones. The hard part.
But Tony, like we saw in the piece, the mom said, I cry when the baby cries. And you say the words crying it out.
I know.
That's a bad way to describe it.
Crying it out got a bad name because it sounds like you're neglecting your child, and you're really not. But the truth is, all sleep training is some variation of letting the child learn to self-soothe. But it's not easy. I mean, we've been through this as parents. My wife has heard me talk about sleep training so much that her friends used to call her and she would give the advice. So then when my daughter was 4 months, she's like, we're doing it. Yeah, easier said than done. Put her to sleep. 10 o'clock, she's waking up, screaming. I'm in bed, pretending not to listen, but I'm like dying inside.
Of course.
My wife is literally just shooting me looks, shooting me looks. And then all of a sudden she's like, done. Aborted that night. Whole next day we fought. I was the insensitive father.
You're the bad guy.
She was the hypocritical mother who gave advice but couldn't follow it. We came to a consensus. We did it later that day. My daughter's been a great sleeper, but it's not easy and not for everybody.
And Sebastian, you had a night nurse, right?
Yeah, so growing up, we didn't really have sleep training. It was go to bed.
Right, exactly.
And stop crying. There was no training. We were fortunate enough to have this woman come in and give us a lot of help, and my kids have not gotten out of the bed ever
since.
They don't even know where our bedroom is. So it was really, really helpful in that situation. And listen, I'm the one that always wants to go in and tend to the baby. My wife is more like just let them be. I'm a little bit more sensitive in that.
Now, Sebastian, you make light of the daddy's perspective when talking about family issues, kid issues, but has there been a moment or moments where you just you reached your limit, like it's not funny, and you feel like
it's never really funny in the moment,
right?
But in the reflection of it all, there's where the morsels of humor start to kind of pop. So, sometimes it takes a little time away from the situation for my sense of humor to kick in. But a lot of times when it's happening, it's
intense.
Like, what's going on?
So everybody says when they become a parent, they're not going to lose their temper, they're not going to yell, they're going to be a certain kind of zen, get down on one knee, what's going on, tell me what's happening. And then reality sets in. How do you keep yourself, when you feel yourself ready to blow?
Keep composure.
Yeah, how do you keep your composure, or try to?
I don't. Nothing wrong with a little volume in the house.
Right.
It's okay.
Right? I mean, my wife is always like, why are you getting upset? Why are you yelling? I don't know.
Why not?
I'm angry.
Right.
You're not listening.
Yeah,
It's a mess.
I cannot suppress a lot of sometimes when you get emotional about it. It's not like I'm walking around like an animal, but at times, my voice gets a little loud, and I think it's good for the kid. No, please back me on that.
Sebastian, I'll back you on that.
You're getting a lot of head nods in here right now.
Yeah.
It is. It absolutely is. We go to, the kids bring us to a level, we go to the next. It's sort of a back and forth, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard, and we've all been there. And I think that's what we found most about this podcast. It's been the feedback we've gotten is that it's giving parents confidence, because you just want to know as a parent you're doing it right.
Okay, yeah.
And we had that dad last week. I mean, this guy should be the poster child of fathers. He was like radiating, glowing, and honestly, he only called in just to say, "Am I doing okay? Am I doing right by my kids?" And he was just glowing about. I mean, I felt inadequate after he talked, but it was just really nice to be there to say, "Yeah, there's lots of different right ways of doing it. You're doing a great job."
Can I go back to a sleep question, but not for babies?
Yeah.
So I have an 11-year-old, and you hear all these things of they need a certain amount of sleep. You can't necessarily get them to sleep, and there's some kids that are like 8 hours. There's some that are 7. Is there a right amount? How do you can't make an 11-year-old go back to sleep when they're up at 6 in the morning and they haven't
gate
gotten
the bedroom.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. Well, we just talked about.
They're not all Sebastian's kids were afraid to get out of the bed.
So there is. I mean, we look for about 10 hours minimum around 4 months of age. And as they get older, it drops a little more. So 9 hours and then 8 hours. So in that 8 to 10 range is great. You're lucky to get 8. At least what we talk about with older kids is getting into a bedtime routine, getting off the electronics at least an hour before bed.
But if they just get up, like if they are doing
Yeah.
all of that, are there just some kids?
Some kids
don't?
do just get up early. Yeah. But at least it's their downtime.
Yeah.
And if they're not waking you up, right? Are they waking you up?
Maybe. Sometimes.
Maybe, sometimes.
That's
Sebastian,
all right.
just having people talk, particularly fathers, about parenting, it didn't happen a generation ago. Not like this, anyway. There's not a lot of outlets to this day.
You're right.
What are you hearing actually from other dads who know this podcast exists?
Well, a lot of podcasts that are male dominated are talking about sports or talking about hunting or whatever. You don't really see two guys talking about, so when your kid doesn't eat, what do you do? So we're just, we're trying to open up that conversation, and it's nice that this is a platform where fathers could call in, fathers could listen maybe while they're mowing the lawn and go, "Oh yeah, I heard that on the podcast, I'll try it." So it's just something different. Yeah. Parents should, have fun, and we're trying to make it fun to raise the kids. And
we
It's
appreciate
become
it.
my go-to on teenager questions.
There we go. Sebastian Maniscalco and Dr. Scott Cohen, thank you so much. New episodes of Daddy vs. Doctor premiere every Friday. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you.